Pirushim for Shemini Atzeret, we're jumping the gun. Page Pei Gimel on the Likutei Torah. Class is sponsored by Rabbi Meradian for Bashi Ben Nisan. Okay. The pasuk says on the 8th day is Atzeres. Says in the pasuk, the left side is under my head, and his right hand hugs me. That's the pasuk. He says, Lahavin, what does it mean? Tachas l'reish. What does it mean? You're telling Hashem his left hand is under my head. Okay, what is that? What's that supposed to mean? He says, the Mishnah says 1 minute of tshuva ma'asim tevim in this world is better than the whole olam haba. The Quran is bar, but Maamar Pamim Rabbi is makam acher. We explained this many times. Like we learned, that's the essence versus the ray. It's different levels. Okay, so now Yuvan Bagdam will understand it by first speaking. Maamar Azal Gadol Talmud Shemevili the Mashsa. The Gemara says there's a debate. Talmud Gadol or Ma'aseh Gadol? What's great? Action or learning? Nimnu v'gamru. They made an account. They said Gadol Talmud Shemevili the Ma'aseh. Learning is greater because it brings to action. He says, this is the well-known question that everybody asks. If Ikamasha Talmud Gadol, the Gemara says like this: learning is greater because it brings to action. That means action is greater. So why are you saying learning is greater? The whole discussion was what's greater, action or learning. So you're answering learning is greater because it brings to action. That itself means action is greater. Imkenan adarabah. Just for this reason, so Maaseh is Gadol. So why does Gemara say that learning is greater? We need to understand the whole concept of actions of mitzvahs. Like we learned the 248 mitzvahs are the 248 limbs of Hashem. How can you say by Hashem the limbs of Hashem? Hashem has no image of a body. So how do you use the expression that Hashem has limbs if Hashem has no body? Chas v'sholom. Is like this. It says in the pasuk, Titin Emes Yaakov, Chesed la'Avraham, Masher Nishbata la'Aviseinu mimekedem. Give Emes to Yaakov, Chesed to Avraham, because we know Avraham is a level of Chesed, and Yaakov is the level of Emes, Midas Emes, Teferes. Asher Nishbata la'Aviseinu mimekedem. He says that you swore to your forefathers from the earlier days. What is this emes? It says Titin emes liYaakov, that Hashem gives emes to Yaakov. What does this mean? Or just simply that Hashem gives Yaakov emes. What emes is he giving him?
Why is this like left out?
He's not left out. La'ased love Yitzchak is going to be Kiata Avinu. Don't worry about Yitzchak. He's good. He's a good man. In Eksiv, it says in the pasuk. So the question is why.
He wants to know about Avraham, his name. That's what he wants to know.
He wants to know about Yitzchak. Yitzchak is the Indian of Lasud Lav Yitzchak. That's even a greater level than the other two. So he says, what is this shvach? What is this praise that Hashem is giving emes to Yaakov? In Eksiv, Kel Deir Savaya. Says in the pasuk in Shmuel, Ki Kel Deir Savaya. Hashem has deis, which is plural. It doesn't mean Hashem has deis. Peter Shekelu Beis Deis. Hashem includes within him two opposite understandings. Ki mimata l'mayla. From our level, from our perspective, this that we see the world, that's real. From our perspective, what we see, world is real. Nearly, and the ruch is that we don't see. In our realm, that's the level of ayin. That means from our perspective, the world is yesh mi'ayin. What I see, I feel, I smell, I hear, that's real. Ruchnius that I don't feel, it's not real. Ayin. And something, the higher it is, who a ayin yes is more nothing, because it's even more not understood. In other words, again, in our realm, if it's not in the five senses, the five chushim, it doesn't exist. So something which is less understood is more nothing. That means the greater the ruchnius is, the more nothing we call it. We call it more ayin. Or like it says, the commercial calls about chachma mi'ayin timot. This is from our perspective because we're sheikh nimat, we're all the way down here. So because we're down here, gashmius exists, ruchnius we got to think about. So therefore the world is yesh mi'ayin. That's our perspective. But by Hashem that everything is non-existent. It's just the opposite. Is more, the more mata it comes, is the more ayin. And therefore the lower the thing is, meaning the more it feels itself to be something instead of Hashem, so the more real nothing it is. So he says there's and these two opinions, by the way, are all included in Hashem. Kel Deus Hashem means that from Hashem's perspective, there is our perspective and his perspective. Because if it wouldn't be in Hashem's perspective, it can't be in our perspective. We can't have something Hashem doesn't have. So Hashem says there's two levels. There's our perspective that yesh mi'ayin, and as Hashem's perspective that it's ayin mi'yesh. So he says, what does it mean? As follows. Therefore, at the beginning of davening, we say, Heidel Hashem. We say, Meidim anachnu loch. That's why we say, Meidim anachnu loch. We admit and give in to you. I admit to you. That means we disagree, and Meidim means thanks, but Heidel also means admission. So he says, I admit that even though from my perspective, the world is yesh mi'ayin, but I agree to you, sha'atu Hashem Elokeinu, that nothing else exists.
Which perspective of the neshama?
Neshama is the godly perspective. But the problem is the neshama is controlled by something called the body.
Oh. So the
aveda of the neshama in the body is to create the realization that the world is ayin mi'yesh. Hashem made yesh mi'ayin. Our job is to make the yesh back into the ayin.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's called life. Like you admit to your friend, initially you argued against it. You have another logic. And then you admit, so what does it mean in Ruchnius? In order to a person meditating. That everything really by Hashem is nothing. And this, that the world appears to be something, is we only see with physical eyes, which is all fake. But the reality is just the opposite. But the opposite of what we see is wrong, and it's not the reality. Then we'll admit the truth.
That's the Meidim?
That's the Meidim. Heidel Hashem Kiru V'Shmei, Meidim Anachnu Loch. These are the various different parts of davening. They're telling Hashem that the truth is your perspective is right and our perspective is 100% wrong. We don't exist. And the more you don't exist is the real existence.
Why did Hashem create it that
Then
way?
your real existence. Because Hashem wanted a dira b'tachtenim. This is what we say in Halal. Ve'emes Hashem la'olam. We say, right? And the emes of Hashem is forever. What does that mean? Emes Hashem la'elam doesn't only mean forever. The emes of Hashem is in olam. La'olam, in the Helen v'hester. V'tzimtzum. Sheyinir le'eni basim mizrach u'mayrev. That we see mizrach u'mayrev. What is it? That emes is really emes Hashem. That we bring it down. In olam, we reveal the level of emes Hashem. V'chol zman shetiknu leimer halal. And therefore, every time the chachamim, it's halal, not on Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is a minig, but halal on the Chagim is one of the 7 mitzvahs of Rabbanan. Therefore, we make a bracha on it, right? So the Chachamim instituted every time we say halal is the time of his galus emes havaya shelamayla mata. Is the time when it's taka revealed this level of emes havaya le'elam. Surely it's mashila mata. That what's really down here should be called ayin, and Lamaila should be called Yesh. Okay, so this is the whole thing of Haidah and the level of Bittul. There's Kel Deis Hashem, both are in Hashem's perspective because Hashem did create Yesh Mi'ayin. Because Torah Emes says, Bereshit Bara Elokim. We said Chassidus asks, the Marash asks, maybe the world doesn't exist. Maybe it's all fake. In fact, the medrash that says ain't kalakenu, he says ain't sur kalakenu. Simply means there's no rock like our Hashem. So the word sur also comes from the word sayar, an artist. You gotta draw us. Be mitzayir, right in your picture. So it says ain't sayar kalakenu, a very good artist. The uniqueness of it, he makes it look very real. A good artist makes it very look. If you ever go in these things, once or twice, you stand in the middle of a room in the IMAX theater, I think it was, you have the thing going around, it looks so real, like it's mamish real. It's fake. So a good artist, your good equipment, whatever, you're able to make something, so the better the artist, the more realistic you can make it look. So the question is, maybe ain't Tzayik and Lokenu, maybe Hashem is such a good artist, he makes this world look real when it's not. So maybe who says the world exists? We've learned this many times. So Marash says there's 2 proofs to it. One is from Chumash and one from Mishnah. Okay, so he says, first of all, Torah's Emes says, Bereshit bara Elokim. Baran's Elokim, Yesh Mi'ayin. It says in Torah says Hashem created the world. You can't say it's fake. Torah's Emes says Hashem created the world, so there's a world. Then he quotes from a Mishnah Sanhedrin that says that by witchcraft, black magic, the Gemara says like this: whoever does real black magic is chayiv misa, mechashev, kishuv. But the eiches einayim, if you only do like a magic show, so then you don't get killed. You don't get killed. So the question, why? Because it's not real. But the question is, he says, if the whole world is fake to begin with, so then you never have real kishuv. If the world is fake, so even when you're doing real kishuv, it's really fake. So how can you be chayiv misa?
But those 2 proofs are in this world.
Yeah. Is a proof that the world, Torah is not world. Torah says, in Torah says there is a world. And Hashem created that emes of a world. But Hashem created this world that from our perspective, from the level of Elokim, meaning from that level of Elokus, which is symptom and concealment, over there's a level of Elokim. From the perspective of Havaya, there's no world. Especially the higher level, that nothing exists, for sure there's no world.
Rabbi, according to the Rambam, is there no chayiv mita for kishuv because it's all fake anyway?
No, the Rambam never says the world is fake.
No, not the world is fake, the kishuv is fake.
No, the Rambam says there's nothing to it. He says it's shtusim and this. He don't say it's not fake.
It is chayiv mita.
The Rambam says it's shtusim, it's nothing, it's something stupid, not the...
Why do we have to know what it is from Hashem's perspective?
Because that's what we're supposed to realize that.
We can't even recognize that.
Why? Yes, we can. Torah says you realize that the life and existence of this table is the word of Hashem that's in it, and this table itself is worthless. And therefore, if you meditate and you realize that, and the same thing, the people themselves, what am I? We said yesterday, Ma'anu, Machayenu, Machazdenu, Afrani, B'chayek, Avochem, Misasi, I'm dirt when I'm alive, how much more so when I'm dead? Person realizes, what are we? We're nothing. We're just what we blow ourselves up. One?
It could exist, but it could be an illusion.
No, we exist. If it's an illusion, it's not an existence. It's a real existence that from our perspective, from the perspective of Elokus, of Elokim, there is a real world. But what is the ultimate perspective of this thing? That Havayahu Elokim. Why at the end of Yom Kippur we scream 7 times Hashem or Elokim? That Elokim and Havaya is really the same thing. And the end of Nila, when you come to this level of the essence of the Neshama, yeah, so then you say Havaya Hu Elokim in all the midas. And everything is really Havaya's Elokim. That's the reality. It's possible to come to. Okay, so you skip the parentheses, like 10 lines, whatever. And therefore, afterwards, we say Haydol Hashem in the level of Haydor, I love His Baruch. That we're telling Hashem, I agree. It's not like we understand it. It's your perspective. That's what the pasuk says. Give Yaakov emes. What is the emes? Hashem's perspective. Ki Yaakov b'chinas Yud Akev. Yaakov is the level Yud Akev. That means the level of Chochmah comes all the way down into Akev. Hainu Yud is the level of Tzimtzum. It comes into the lowest of levels, that the mamish in the Akev, in the thickest, coarsest, least feeling part of the body. Even though that Yud comes into Akev, even though it's the lowest of level, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Neisin Emes. Hashem gives the truth. She is Gala Gam Shom Emes Havaya. That even in the level of Yaakov, that means even in the level of Heel, the lowest thing is also the level of Emes. That even in the world where we think, like you said before, the lower you are, the more coarse you are, the more you think of yourself. So that emes is given to Yaakov, that even in the level of Akev, we know the truth. It is Eined Mulvadi. Mizan Nimshach Liyaz Chesed LaAvram, and that causes Chesed LaAvram. Because the pasuk says like this: Titin emes liYaakov, Chesed LaAvram. Chesed Avram was first. You should say Titin Chesed, the emes Yaakov Chesed. Titin Chesed LaAvram, Chesed LaAvram, ve'emes liYaakov. Why is Yaakov mentioned first? So he said, because through emes liYaakov becomes revealed Chesed LaAvram. Like the pasuk says in Yaakov Asher Podos Avram, Yaakov redeemed Avram. Meaning, the Chesed bears Chesed or Amshachas HaMitzvahs. Chesed represents the level of mitzvahs Shebchlalus, and Tzedakah generally speaks the mitzvah of Tzedakah. And it comes down into action. Don't forget, the Alter Rebbe was asking, what does it mean, Gadol Talmud Shemei V'lidei Maisa? So then the Maisa is greater, right? Alter Rebbe is explaining Maisa mitzvahs through the actions of the mitzvahs. Sheyesh lahem keach v'eiz, to be in a serusa de l'sata. This that we can awaken ourselves is totally a serusa de leila. He's saying like this: how are we able to do the Aveda of Chesed, which represents all mitzvahs, tzedakah and all that? He says, through the awakening from above of Titin Emes LiYaakov. In other words, how is it possible for a Jew to understand Ayin Miyesh, with Hashem's perspective, On our own, it's impossible to have that because we're in a guf, for the Helam Esther, concealment, all that. Through the level Sirusa de Leila, Titin Emes Liyaakov, that Hashem gives into the Yaakov, the Yidden, right? The level of Emes that ain't Eid Mulvadei, then we can have Chesed Lavram, then we're able to do mitzvahs to take the physical world and show that the physical world is really Ein Eid Mulvadei.
So only Hashem can give us this perspective.
You better believe it. Shaydei Amaitza Tzedakah, who else can give it to us?
I'm saying we need to work on it then.
No, Hashem gives you the koyach from above. Now go to sleep. You got it, you know. Shaydei Amaitza Tzedakah Chasdei Yisrael B'chinas Chesed El Yimchina Derech Zeh B'chol HaMitzvahs. Okay, so he says, go to base. Ach Lahov and Miyayin HaKoyach Hazem. Where do we get this koyach? Li'eshisarusa de l'sa'ela. Toli b'sarusa de l'sat. Here, he's saying that the Aveda of the Jew awakens the Sarusa de Leila. It goes both ways, right? You have, like we learned many times, Vayikra al Moshe, Hashem calls Moshe, it means the Gili from above. And then you have Adam ki Yaakov. Then you have the Aveda of the person's Aveda. So there's an initial push from above. Then the Jew does his Aveda. And now that the Jew does his Aveda, he shows that the world is really Ayin. So that causes a greater Gilui of Elokus. So there's three levels. In order to do any Aveda, we need this koyach from above. Hashem gives us the Sarusa de Leila.
Equal to everybody?
Huh?
Everybody is equal this push? Or some people have more zechut to have?
Every day the Basko comes out from heaven. Right? The Baskos that wake up Yidden are supposed to wake us up. That's the Surutz of the Leila. The question is how good your hearing is. The Neshama hears it. Yeah, the Neshama hears it. That's what Siddur says, because not what's the purpose of it. So obviously, you don't make a Basko if nobody hears it. So obviously something hears it. The Neshama hears it. So if the body is very, very coarse and thick, so then the Neshama's hearing it is not going to affect it because you have an ear blockage. You know, you got a big blockage. If you have more Edelkeit, so then you do hear it.
What makes somebody have more zechut to be more able? What is it?
You mean there are people that are born just more refined than others? Yeah, there are people like that. No, they're people, right? Okay. So the pshat is that person that's more refined, that hears it, let's say, more is demanded from them.
They're more under the microscope.
They're more under the Kadosh Baruch Hu medati b'tzadikim kuchot asayda. Hashem is meticulous. The tzadikim make the width of a hair.
That's what happened to Moses.
That's right. Moshe tzadikim. Yeah. So in that respect, see again, we have our perspective is very blinded and self-centered, but the reality is every person has their own unique mission. That mission, yeah, if you're on a higher level, if Hashem created you, let's say a greater neshama, so you have more responsibility. You have not such a great neshama, you have less responsibilities. But in other words, like Reb Zusha said, Reb Zusha Anapoli said, when I come up after 120 years, they're not going to whip me why I wasn't the Magid. How can I be my Rebbe the Magid? They're going to whip me why I wasn't Zusha. Right? That means every person has to know this is, but the problem is we always trick ourselves. We're always fake. You know, here we think we're better than we are, and here we think, no, how can I do it? I'm not such a great tzaddik, so I can't do it. In other things, you think you're God's gift to the world. Comes to determine, no, I'm a very low person. That's the problem. That's why you have to know exactly who you are and what you are. Because you have to know what the aved of the person is. So every person, no two people have the same, every person has the same aveda to keep Torah mitzvahs. But in Torah mitzvahs, the individuality of mitzvahs that no two Jews are the same. And not only that, in life, okay, that's why Hashem made it like this, because in Ruchnius it's like that. You have life, you start off being a newborn, and then you become a toddler, and then you become, preschooler goes up, yeah? Why didn't the Eibishter make us grown adults?
Like the horse.
Huh?
Like the horses.
Yeah.
The horseman is born and it walks.
Walks, everything except a human.
Because we need pediatricians.
It will be very painful to the mother.
That's good.
The Eibishter could have made it very, very, it's like the horse is not painful. So what's the pshat? A person has different times in life when more is demanded from him. You don't demand from a newborn what you demand from a toddler, or from a preschool, or from an elementary, just in life, in business. So every person has their time and mission. What's demanded from a person during the week is not what's demanded on Shabbos. And every day, whatever it is.